So, people, Jamaica nil, Curacao nil in the final World Cup qualifier of the group stage. And I had to make a video about this because stayed up, watched a lot of the game, and what actually happened in that game? Was it worth staying up for? I don't think so, people. Big up to everyone locked in. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe and get in the comments because there's going to be a lot of discussion around what happened in the game in the early hours of this morning. So Jamaica needed to beat Curacao at home to qualify. Sellout crowd. Curacao, quite a lowly ranked nation, 150,000 people in their entire country. More people live in Cambridge than live in Curacao. And Jamaica failed to beat them in front of a sellout crowd at home. And they failed to beat them in the away game as well. This was a group of Curacao, Trinidad and Tobago, and Bermuda. Should have been a walk in the park for Jamaica, and it was far from a walk in the park as they came second in the group and now have to go into a very difficult playoffs that may have scuppered their chances of making the World Cup in 2026 in America, Canada, and Mexico. Steve Mclaren, the Wally with the brolly, they called him, when he failed to qualify for a international tournament with England. He was sacked in the rain holding an umbrella. He went to Holland and put on a dodgy Dutch accent and was sacked from there. So the warning signs were there from a long time, to be honest. He's turned up at Jamaica, and the one thing you thought you were going to get is organisation, good coaching, good tactics. Far from it. If you watched that game last night, it was like a Sunday league game. Long ball from defence. Some of the better players on the bench. Why is Mason Holgate on the bench? Why is Richards on the bench? Whisper. Why is he on the bench? And tactics from the Stone Ages. And he resigns after the game. He sits in a press conference, pulls out two pieces of paper that he'd clearly pre-written before the game in the thought that if Jamaica don't qualify, I'm going to resign. He reads out about three pieces of A4 paper and hands in his resignation. He was probably on the first flight out of Kingston this morning because he knew they were going to sack him. Him and Trevor Sinclair and all them guys, they go. And he has wasted the best opportunity that Jamaica have had since the 98 World Cup. America, Mexico, hosting the tournament, not in the qualifiers, out of the way. Over to you, Jamaica. Surely you can't fumble this. They can fumble it, and they have fumbled it. And with everything that's going on in the country at the moment, recovering from the hurricane, the country needed this. The people needed this. The stadium was sold out last night. The atmosphere was there. There was no excuses. The pitch was absolutely shambolic. I don't know if that's down to the weather they've had and the terrible conditions, but the pitch was literally breaking up as they was running on it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Another thing that I want to say, by the way, if you are going to select players from England, all right, and make them fly hours and hours to the Caribbean, at least make sure they're worthwhile. Otherwise, what's the point? Some of these guys that you're bringing over from England are not good enough. They're on the scrap heap. You know, the guy who got sent off, John Russell, did nothing yesterday. Cordova Reed, who's been actually a good player in the past, played in the Premier League, did nothing yesterday. As I said, I know for a fact that Jamaica had a hit list, if you like. They wanted Ivan Toney, Reece Nelson, Mason Greenwood, and Jed Spence. They didn't get any of them. They didn't get any of them. They've ended up with players, some of them playing in League One. I mean, the right back yesterday, Lembakissa, is it? With the dreads. What was he doing on that pitch yesterday? Honestly, awful. He couldn't even control the ball at times. Where are you finding these players? How are you not able to convince better players to come and play for Jamaica? Now, the problem is, it's the setup. It's the JFF, the Federation. The setup over there is shambolic. Similar to other countries around the world, some of the African nations, some of the other Caribbean nations, they're turning up to away games with no return flight. They're training on pitches that aren't good enough. They're not getting paid on time. The first team pitch is cutting up. How can you turn up and try and qualify for a World Cup and your pitch is falling apart beneath you as you're running on the pitch? It's not good enough. Mason Greenwood went as far as to get a Jamaican passport and then did a U-turn at the last minute. Amari Hutchinson played a friendly for Jamaica and then went back to playing for England under 21s. He came, had a look and said, "Nah, we'll leave it. We'll leave it. I'm not doing that. I can't do that." The setup is costing the nation qualifying for international tournaments. It's stopping big players in the Premier League from committing to it because they're saying, why should I fly 9 or 10 hours to Jamaica when you don't even have facilities that are suitable? You're not even paying people on time. You're not even getting return flights. This was a disaster for the nation yesterday. Genuinely, the people needed it. I've said this multiple times, if Jamaica qualify for the World Cup, I'm going over for that World Cup. Just for the vibes. And let's be real, Jamaica wouldn't have done much in the World Cup. Like, they might have actually got battered by a few of the bigger nations. But at least they would have been there. At least they'd have been representing. At least, massive Jamaican communities in parts of America, Miami, Florida, New York, places, especially on the East Coast. And you didn't even give them nothing to smile about. Curacao at home. Jamaica hit the post 4 times. How did Cadamartri miss that header? Danny Cadamartri, remember him back in the day, Everton with the Platts? That's his son. How did he miss that header yesterday? 7 yards out, hits the post. Goalkeeper's not even in the goal. He's come running out. The goal's there. Anywhere in the goal, it's in. Hits the post. What are they doing? And then to make matters worse, they get a penalty in the 92nd minute. And the referee goes to VAR and overturns it. And to be fair, it wasn't a penalty. The guy touched the ball. It was an absolute shambles from start to finish. Curacao, 150,000 people in the country. They've made the World Cup. Haiti have made the World Cup. Their country's in turmoil at the moment. They've still made the World Cup. Now, Jamaica do have another opportunity. They go into the playoffs, intercontinental playoffs. Suriname, New Caledonia, and Iraq. But the problem is that Bolivia and DR Congo are also in that playoff. So it's like a semi-final and a final. Well, let's be real, people. If they can't beat Curacao, they're not going to beat Bolivia, a South American nation that finished 7th in their qualifying section. They ain't beating them. And they're not beating Congo, with Wissa and Masuaku and Wan-Bissaka, who've just beaten Nigeria. They're not beating them, unfortunately. The only hope that Jamaica have got is they need to bring in a new coach that can inspire that team, that can motivate them, that plays attacking football, that picks the right team. And they need to hope that they can maybe get a couple of big players, convince them that, listen, it's going to be different. We can make the World Cup. And you get a couple of big players. You need to get back Leon Bailey. You need to get back Antonio. And you need a couple of others, in the team. Put Mason Holgate in the team. Where was Amari Bell as well? I think he might be injured. But how did they not beat Curacao at home in front of a packed stadium with everything that's going on? Why were the tactics so bad? They hit the post 4 times in the game. Curacao were there for the taking. Curacao basically set up for the draw. A draw was enough for them. So, honestly, Mclaren should have been sacked weeks ago. Honestly, they probably thought because he can still qualify, we'll stick with him. But his tactics during this qualification period have been absolutely shambolic. They've let the nation down. They've let the people down. Them players should be hanging their heads in shame this morning at what they've done. Not getting over the finish line in a group they should have stumbled over the finish line, even if they weren't at their best. So it's been a shocking, honestly, that is one of the most painful international games I've ever watched. Because with England letting us down, you kind of expect it. They get to finals, they don't win. But Jamaica just needed to qualify. They're not going to win the World Cup. They probably wouldn't have even got out of the group stage. But the country going through a natural disaster needed lifting against a nation that they should have beaten at home. And they were terrible. And the football was absolutely shocking. That is not the way Jamaica want or are supposed to play football. They play on the front foot, they attack, they go for it, they create excitement. They played long ball. That was like watching Conference South football yesterday from Mclaren. Honestly, he should be at Braintree or someone like that. So it was a bad, bad night. People, let me know in the comments what you think. Who should be the next Jamaican national coach? Should they get a local manager? Maybe go back for Theodore Whitmore, get somebody that can inspire the players. Can they convince any of the higher level English players to come over and help them maybe get over the finish line? And can they still qualify? Can they beat a Bolivia or a DR Congo in the Intercontinental final if they get past a New Caledonia, a Suriname, or an Iraq? Let me know. This was a terrible, terrible performance. They've let down the nation, and listen, they're going to need a miracle to qualify now. Big up to everyone in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you all soon, people. Bless.